Hi y'all, I'm here at the end of the trail that goes to the Monon High Bridge. This is the end of the trail where the girls were actually abducted. You can see it says 2510 Weber. We know that Weber's property was at the end of the bridge. The way it works apparently in Indiana is for some parks, the land continues to be owned privately by somebody, but there's a statute that says nobody can sue you if they come on the land, and therefore the land is provided for public access. So that's how it worked here. So as you can see, I've come off the road. The road is back that way, the actual highway, and then you go onto this sort of dirt top. It's got some rock. It's got, maybe one day had asphalt, but doesn't really have that anymore, mostly just rock. And then they've got it blocked off. It's down there where the girls were abducted. They were at the end of the bridge, but the bridge remains very high above the ground. Now they have all these things around posted. Violators will be prosecuted. They have out here private drive. It says private property, no trespassing. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to trespass. I'm not going to go down there. There's a property behind me also labeled Weber. And so the Monon High Bridge ends right down there. At the place where it ends, it's very high. And you can look around me and just kind of get a sense of how steep everything is. I guess you can tell on the camera. I mean, it's really steep. So that's the kind of terrain it is. And the terrain coming down off the bridge was that steep. And the video that Libby took, just 43-second video, as they were being abducted, you hear her saying, there's not a path. How am I going to get down? How is that going to work? There was somebody, maybe more than one somebody, the defense says, but at least somebody who was ordering the girls to go down the hill. And from there, at some point, they must have crossed the creek. There were clothes there, and Abby was wet. The bottom half of her clothing was wet, so we figure she probably crossed the creek. We also figure that the girls must have been forced to walk up the hill because they were then found on the other side of the creek, and that's where their bodies were discovered. I wanted to show you they have this marked off, so we aren't able to really go down there. But I think that it's pretty critical that people understand just how steep and also sort of isolated this terrain is. It's way more than I had expected. I had just assumed that it was pretty much parked, lots of people around, or at least more than what I see here. This does seem extremely isolated. What is really shocking to me is just how steep this terrain is. I don't know if I can give you a sense of this, but it would be difficult for somebody to force two girls across that with a gun. I can see where that would be extremely hard. Can you tell it even goes further down in the distance? Now, this is not exactly where the girls crossed. I'm not saying that. I'm just showing you what it looks like here and how steep it is, because it is more than I expected. I was not realizing how incredibly steep it was. You can see right there, there's just pretty much a straight drop-off with a bunch of logs that have been left there from trees falling over time. So this is the area and what the area looked like. Now, we can't see the bridge from here, the end of the bridge where the girls were forced down. We know that bridge guy was there, and of course the defense believes there were other people there too, at least one other person, maybe more. This is the road that runs underneath that bridge. So if we were to go further down this, we would see above us the bridge and where they came down. So they would be going down a hill probably a lot like that in order to get to this road that we're presently on. It also surprises me that it's blocked off, because I did understand that this is public access, but apparently they've changed that over time. We know that one of the first people they looked at was Weber himself, since he owned the property where the girls actually were abducted. They did take a 6-hour gun from him and did some testing. They concluded it was inconclusive as a match, unlike Richard Allen's gun, which they found to be a match, and therefore they arrested Richard Allen. That was about 5 years after the murders happened. As far as Weber, we never got any information that they suspected him or did anything more than just test his gun and determine that he was not involved, or they had no evidence that he was involved. It's pretty. I'll tell you what, this place is beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. It is very secluded, but it's very pretty. I thought this was interesting too. They have gate here, or fence. It's not closed, but it's simply to the side. It says posted no hunting. One of the issues in the case has been the bullet casing that was found between Libby and Abby's feet right at the scene. Well, this particular casing, the prosecution says, was able to be traced back to a gun they found at Richard Allen's home. Now, the defense says this is a place where tons of people hunt, so finding a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson cartridge isn't really all that much of a surprise. There would be plenty of people walking through here who would be hunting. And in fact, as we can see, that must be the case because they're posting no hunting. I assume they're talking about in the field over there behind the fence, and that would be, of course, a great place for deer and that sort of thing. But I thought it was really telling because the defense has said this is a place where there's hunting. They tried to ask the Department of Natural Resources witness whether or not there was hunting in the area or would be hunting in the area, and there was an objection. He wasn't really allowed to answer that, but clearly the answer is yes, there could be hunting there. They found several guns in the creek near where Libby and Abby were found, but they didn't find any other cartridges. And so the question is, could this cartridge have come from somebody other than Richard Allen? The defense says, yeah, absolutely, it wasn't Richard Allen's, and the prosecution says we've matched it to your gun. But we do know, here's some proof that there definitely is hunting in the area.